our general topic of the day is what's our thoughts between relating to music being released in 2020, or rather the lack of it. So the impact COVID has had for artists. I think we could probably all agree it's been a drought musically this year. So yeah, what do we think about that? I mean, I think the questions we kind of noted were, is it right for artists to kind of wait? What are the factors? Is it because of the inability to tour? Is it kind of less access to kind of studios? All of that.
I would have thought some of the bigger bands would have been releasing more because they wouldn't be touring and they would have more time to write songs.
That's because I'm thinking as well. If you're a band right now, and you don't have a home studio setup of some variety where you could at least record stems and send them in to an engineer who will have their own studio to record it in, and then do your mixing and mastering and make it sound like a proper studio album. Why not? Because if you're anywhere near a successful band, that's such a small investment for you.
Yeah, I don't think it's a factor at all, because I think that you so many bands. I mean, if this situation happened 20 years ago or 30 years ago, I think it would have been completely different. It would have, the kind of inability to record would have genuinely been a thing that would have prevented music from being kind of recorded and released. But now I kind of feel like, there's so many bands and artists that I know of that do it at home anyway, right? They have their own setup, and maybe it'll just get mastered after the fact, but they're not, not necessarily every band or artist is going to a studio in the traditional sense. I know it varies time to time, but I think the biggest factor is the touring. I'm sure the reason is, these days artists, the revenue isn't going to come from the streams. A stream is what, 0.003 cents. So I don't think many bands or artists give a fuck about how many songs are being streamed. It's going to be the inability to tour, the inability to play festivals. I'm sure the same level of music's being created. It's just not being put out because there's no revenue stream for the artists afterwards.
It's more or less like that's a different framing of it, but you'd expect to hear that from an artist. That's more or less what Scott Ian said about it in this interview about Bungle, where they were saying they could have just put an album out into nothing, and that wasn't the original plan. They wanted to get out and play shows like they did in February or something in the year,
just before lockdown.
Yeah,
right. Because they were touring these tracks, quite a while before this album came out.
Yeah, and they wanted to get back out and do another tour straight away afterwards. He did say that Anthrax have new material that they're being, they're working through, they're recording, and it's in process of getting done now. But if his say, his vote, whatever, however they decide within band, he doesn't want to put it out until they can get out and tour the album.
I've heard that same kind of message or story from so many others in terms of interviews or things on Twitter. It just feels like the same message across the band across the board.
I have in a way, like I feel for it, because there's obviously a lot of focus on the business side of it at the moment with, should artists have to retrain because there's a pandemic going on? Do they all need to learn computers and stuff? Which is obviously ridiculous. But the other side to that is, if you're an artist and you are, getting by in lockdown without having to rely on your revenue income, from touring and all this sort of stuff, why haven't you put out a single or something? Because there's been a massive void of that sort of stuff, and I feel like the few artists which have within the like pop genre have cleaned up, because Dua Lipa's put out, I haven't been paying attention, but she's put out like 3 songs, maybe 4 songs every single morning on the drive into work. That's what the radio is playing, because they're so starved for music right now.
I guess there's kind of different tiers to it, where kind of like when you're like one of the biggest selling artists, like Dua Lipa or someone similar, I suppose I would assume the weighting between money she's earning from YouTube, radio, whatever, is going to be more weighted towards her versus live, where obviously live is still going to be a money maker, but relative to kind of mid or lower tier bands, they're going to be, potentially 90% live, in terms of money, a kind of money maker is going to be 90% live and 10%, stream money. Well, I assume an artist of her level, it's going to be more 50-50 or 60-30, 60-40.
If I was in a band right now, though, what I would be thinking is, let's just get content out there. This is just our chance. But that's a different model. That's like a model from the internet era,
Yeah.
Because if you're like a YouTuber,
pay ourselves
that's
exposure.
What thinking.
But it is something that kind of shows, how kind of innovative things can be. Because I know there are like a few bands that have done like virtual like live performances, or like even I haven't watched it yet, but I saw like Jid did like a kind of live stream performance of just him doing a 45-minute set in just in a recording booth and live streamed it. And I think that's the way to go. Again, it's not going to match the revenue from doing a festival season, but I feel like it's important to kind of utilize what you've got, the kind of ease of being able to record, stream and present yourself. So I think completely agree, artists should be putting themselves out there in terms of online performances and just giving you something, because everyone's at home right now, everyone is like starving for content.
And there's such a, one of the most common arguments that you hear about new acts coming through and having to strike that balance between the big music companies kind of buying up a monopoly of the market, is that it's so hard to get exposure and so hard to get people to listen when there's so much noise going on anyway. This is the time,
right?
If you have something,
it's that gap in the market,
this is like, jump on it. It's almost like this is an equal but completely opposite version of that, like playing a small live show locally, building up word. You're going to make a very small incremental growth, but it's going to be sustained over time because you have that one fan base. Whereas this is the perfect time to do the exact opposite and just chuck your net as wide as you possibly can, because more people are going to be paying attention to stuff. And
I guess they have to kind of consider as well, even when there are like opportunities for like live shows, it's not going to be the same. It's not just going to be 1 week there's no gigs, all the venues are closed. Next, it's a huge crowd where you can barely breathe. It's not going to be from 0 to 100. It's going to be like a gradual thing. So you kind of need to adopt that early.
It's a massive risk.
Don't wait for the kind of click of the finger and everything to be back to normal.
I saw on Ticketmaster that I think Snoop Dogg, Guns N' Roses, some big bands are starting to have got dates in the UK for next year. That's a bit of a gamble, because who knows?
Oh, well, I remember that because I got like I don't know if do you guys use Songkick?
No, I don't.
No. Well, basically, it's just like an app where you track artists that you like, and it notifies you when they're going to play in your area. So it's good, so you can obviously get on tickets early instead of being like, oh shit, they played here, 2 months ago, but I had no idea. So it's it's just a live tracker. And I just remember when the pandemic first hit, Marchish or whatever, and through like April, May and stuff, I'd still see like announcements of like tours that year, and I was just like, who the fuck are you kidding? When I'm getting these notifications, I was like, come on, bro, come on.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I got that Ticketmaster email. Like, yeah, like good luck. I'm sure Guns N' Roses need fuel for their jets,
Well,
but good luck.
well, Ticketmaster is an interesting one because Ticketmaster is an interesting one because I'm pretty sure I saw some news involving them the other day where they're only going to let people in if they've got proof that they've got a negative COVID test. So you have to get your results and then present them almost like a pass. I'm sure it is Ticketmaster or one of them big conglomerates in the live music industry, but that shit's crazy. I mean,
how does that work?
Yeah,
there would be so many people that just can't turn up to events.
It's ridiculous.
That's almost
you could literally get COVID that day, right? I don't know if it's like it's got to be within a certain time period.
Because everyone would have to take the test 2 days before, and then hope their text arrives before they go that evening, and then they could have caught it in the 2 days in between. I feel like that's worse as well because for the artists economically, because if you're planning a show and you've got the expenditure of a show, but then you don't have the guaranteed revenue back of people might try and reclaim the ticket cost, people won't be buying merch.
Oh, but they'll make you agree to T's and C's that say it's not refundable, 100%. Again, just a guess, but they're going to be scummy, right?
Will that reflect in original ticket sales though?
Are you talking about scalpers? If you buy
no. I mean, will less people buy it if they're going, well, what if I get COVID? What if I can't get a test?
Yeah. But
it depends on the band, I think. Yeah. If it's a big enough band, if Metallica,
right, if they have diehards,
some dates, I'm sure, that will sell out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very cynical about it, but I think it would just be small printed, and there's just going to be no option for refunds. And like you said, Dennis, it's there are certain bands or artists where they're gonna sell no matter what. Plus, there's going to be that there's going to be that kind of huge swarm of the populations that's desperate to kind of have that experience after so long with nothing, that I don't think it's going to impact sales if they're able to facilitate it.
One thing I have wanted to see more of, but have been kind of disappointed in, because of particularly being quite technologically minded, especially when it comes to music and the presentation and performance of it. Why do you think it is that so many venues haven't had a band come in for remote gigs that they sell online tickets to?
Do you think it's because they get most of the money from beers? Or are you saying...
Wait, can you clarify this for me? Sorry. So you're talking about a band playing in a venue empty and they just film it and stream it online. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you I don't know. It's in my brain I went back to Facebar. So it's Facebar. It's 2005 or something. Sylosis are coming in, but there's the Rona. So instead of everyone crowding around the front of that tiny ass stage, getting hemmed in, getting spat on by people trying to go to the bar, get a drink.
Yeah.
Cameras all around the stage on the lighting rig and all that sort of stuff. Sell virtual tickets. There's no. You lose the bar revenue obviously, but there's no staff or much less staff revenue.
Right, you can minimize costs. No security.
Yeah, you don't have to replace any stock.
Yeah. Well, I think, funnily enough, Sylosis actually did that. I'll have to speak to Rob, but he told me Sylosis actually did that, and you could pay to get access to the stream. So it's funny you picked that band, but that actually happened.
They did that in COVID.
Yes, yeah. So I think it was them. It might have been them, and I think it was them and Trivium actually. So they played just empty venue, and it was you paid a little bit to stream. Don't quote me on the specifics, but that actually happened. But it's a rarity. It's not like a standard that's been adopted by lots of bands.
Does that fit in with lockdown rules though? Because can you have a skeleton crew of people in a venue like that?
But it doesn't seem that hard, because if it's going to be it's just the band, it's the techies, and that's it. It's a reasonable number that you could all test prior. You could hypothetically be like, you're all going to be tested the day before or whatever, and then you just have to quarantine that night, perform the day after, and then you're good to go.
Well, they could never be in the same room as each other. Do you know what I mean? Like they're checked by a security guard out the front behind a sheet of Perspex. Perspex. I knew it wasn't right. I couldn't remember what it was. Yeah, behind like an entire, build him a fucking David Blaine box of Perspex. He's inside of that. He's checking them as they come in. Yes, you are the band on the picture. Get in there. All the techies are in a room by themselves. You got your sound mix in there. You've got the light show, the camera operators in there. Band performs in one room, chuffs off home again past the Perspex man. They've never made contact, but a show's been played. And then 3 days later, after 72 hours of quarantining the space, you can get another band in.
Yeah. From a consumption and like content perspective, it just makes sense to me. Completely agree. That should be kind of the model that a lot are adopting. I don't think it doesn't resolve things from an economic aspect. So kind of if I was to take away my like opinions as a fan, it kind of obviously you would be operating on a skeleton crew, and there's going to be the kind of normal live music jobs, whether it's like security, like bar stuff, whatever, where they still don't win from it. So obviously I know we're framing this in terms of like the musical aspect, but the bigger picture, it doesn't kind of fix things for the live music industry. That's the only problem with that. But yeah, content wise, it's a no-brainer. That kind of model should be adopted.
Yeah. I think a lot of like Jacob Collier's done a few things of just putting out different types of content. Like he started this before, but he's done more breakdowns of his Logic sessions.
Yeah, I've seen those on his YouTube, right?
Yeah, which like is a sick idea. I don't know why there are so few artists doing that. Like even like people like I immediately went to rock and metal where like you can look at all the different double tracked instruments and all this sort of stuff and explain your presets or whether you're using lives or modular amp parts and all this sort of stuff.
I eat that shit up.
Yeah, people like Just Blaze, you know, like break down your most iconic beats.
Yeah.
People like JME go back through your back catalog and like show your development through different doors. Like it's such a rich pool for online content, and now is the perfect time.
One thing that I would say as a recommendation to you guys, I don't know, we might have briefly mentioned it before in conversation, but if not, it's worth checking out. Have you seen any of like the rap versus like streams? So there's been a few, like it's not even necessarily been like just rap, but like I think it's been organized by like Swizz Beats, where kind of they've got like two rappers or whatever, two artists, where they just basically like play like their greatest hits, like they play like 20 of their like best songs and then discuss with each other like the recording process or whatever, and then obviously they just have people like vote in the comments for like who's their favorite, who's got the better discography. Fucking brilliant to watch. The best one I saw, it was about 2 hours, Snoop Dogg and DMX, and they were just like literally in a studio just playing their hits, rapping along and then just shooting the shit, and it was great. It was great. I saw Erykah Badu and Jill Scott also did one, which awesome. I want more of that. So there's been quite a few of those.
This is
and again it goes back to
you're talking about
like it's like versus with a Z, I think. Yeah. But there's been a good thing. I think the original one was actually Swizz Beats and Timbaland, so it was more of like a beat off.
Yeah.
Who's got the best beats? But yeah. That's another perfect example of utilizing that time where you don't have the live aspect, but you can still, and they're not doing new music. It's all the classics, right? That you're getting the backstory, you're getting the kind of the history behind it, and you're experiencing that artist as a person in the moment. I think that's been one of the best things through lockdown that I've enjoyed so much.
What I love about this as well,
there's more of those.
Like this style of content and the stuff that Jacob Collier does is typically like this as well, but it's completely destroys all the like arguments about the value of art just because we're in a lockdown. people have relied more
Like
on
the
it to get through
Mystique.
times like this, but then seeing it argued for by people that are so passionate and intelligent about it, incredible. Seeing someone like Jacob Collier break down his work, and you see the science behind it, you see the process behind it, and the decisions that this person made versus the decisions this person made, why they had different outcomes, how somebody who doesn't have that experience or training couldn't do that job. It just, it demonstrates such a unique value that appears to be quite important at the moment. I would have thought people already knew it, but yeah.
I mean, he's an interesting example because he's always kind of utilized like YouTube or just like the internet in general to get his name out there. I mean, I remember like first seeing him just from his like doing like the Stevie Wonder cover and whatever, years back, and so kind of he became famous from being like, just one of the most super talented musicians. So it kind of feels natural for someone like him to kind of continue that, and he's going to be someone that would easily adapt to the changes, while other artists that traditionally maybe you don't get exposed to as much, and you don't get to see like the kind of, I don't know, warts and all process. It's going to be harder for them to transition to these newer kind of ways of kind of exploring their craft.
I think it's a model thing that the classic model of music, I guess, is put out an album, go out and tour,
Like the cycle.
Whereas this model is more like a content model. It's more like a podcasting or YouTuber type of thing.
You're waiting for your podcast every week, or you're watching your favorite streamer in the evening type thing. So exactly that.
Well, no, it's this idea of just get stuff out there, just get somebody to, and it doesn't matter what it is, just as long as it's coming from you, it has value. I guess if you don't define yourself as that type of person, if you define yourself as a musician and you're not comfortable going down that route, you just won't do it.
Gonna have to get comfortable, because like I said, it's not going to change overnight.
I feel like we might end up in the post-COVID world with quite a. I think this will be true for a lot of business, that it'll be quite cutthroat, and they'll realize that they can run on a lot more of a skeleton crew
Slim down,
than previously thought. But I feel like we're really going to feel that in the arts as an industry.
That's why I guess people like Tyler the Creator, even Mike Patton, these multi-talented people will sort of shine because they've been doing that sort of all along.
If you operate within a kind of slim confines in terms of exactly what you say, you have the cycle, you have the formula that you don't deviate, you're gonna struggle so much. You need to kind of have your fingers in different pies, so that when one revenue stream or outlet gets cut off, you can then focus on the others.
Or as Jack says, just demands from the industry.
I feel like you should always be able to diversify, as long as it like, I feel like this is almost the bit that you get manipulated by as an artist, but if it impacts your revenue, but it doesn't affect your ability to survive and like buy food and pay rent and all this sort of stuff, the arts needs to be the industry that pushes it forward all the time in every area. So like, people have demands for media at the moment. The arts needs to demonstrate its value by providing new media, new entertainment during this time when people are so desperate for it. Otherwise you get people questioning, why is it okay that this person is being art as their life?
It needs to kind of be the figurehead for other industries to follow, as opposed to be the thing like, okay, this is an expendable part of our kind of society.
100%.
Completely agree. So Shane,
do you think though that the industry is capable of being, sorry, I know we've been going on for too long, last question that I'll ask, do you think the industry is capable of being that flexible. Because when I think of, say, music, for instance, it's basically run by what, three corporations, EMG and
Three major labels.
brothers. Yeah, and they're suits basically who are basically pimping out these artists. So yeah, there's two sides. There's the creative side and there's the business side.
Yeah.
So do you think the business side is capable of being that flexible?
Well, for me, it kind of feels like it's almost to be a fast track. It kind of feels like already like kind of the traditional like major label format is so outdated, and kind of COVID is almost kind of like fast tracking that. So, say for example, there's probably, I'd imagine there's a swath of artists that do want to release and just say fuck it, let's do it, and it's going to be the labels that are the ones that saying no, we need to have those revenue streams, and it's kind of like if you're an independent artist or an artist that has that control, then you've got the freedom to explore the different avenues. While there's probably a lot of majors that are like shutting these creative kind of ideas out. So kind of for me, it just puts the fuel on the fire of the way the music industry is run. It just completely just needs shelving and redoing.
There's two routes that it could go down, I think, and one of them's really nasty, and it's these businesses that make their money from pop artists tightening the strings, taking less risks, ultimately damaging music as a art form. For the majority of people will have the big companies kind of directing what they're listening to. Then the subculture would still survive, but it would have way less legitimacy because of that damage up top. Or we have Dinosaurs Will Die by NoFX come into actuation, and people realize that the value of music is monetary in the sense that people who make it and provide it for people to listen to should be reimbursed, but the value of music itself is to kind of give rise to emotions and give a voice to people who are kind of separated but have the same thoughts, and in situations like this a way to just kind of give a middle finger to people that are running stuff their own way, which doesn't work.
Here's why I think that second bit that you said is slightly more likely. The rise of SoundCloud, the rise of these just independent artists putting out stuff, I imagine they haven't been as affected as some of the bigger bands that are dependent on the labels.
Yeah.
And the next generation, like my brother's 17 now. And most of his music he gets from these sort of SoundCloud bedroom DJs.
I remember you just reminded me with the term bedroom DJ. Fucking Daniel Bedingfield. When he released that single, I don't remember what it's called, but all people spoke about was the fact that he'd recorded it in his bedroom. That was every single time it was on Top of the Pops or anything like that. People were just blown away that it was in the bedroom. And now it's like literally buy software or get like a light version or whatever you want. But for £200, you can get a whole setup to plug into your computer and make.
You look at one of the biggest artists in the world, Billie Eilish. She records all of her shit just at home with her brother.
Yeah, especially if you lean into that style.
Yeah,
like
and it doesn't sound. It sounds like the most polished, crisp production.
Yeah.
It sounds like some shit you'd hear from them going to the most expensive studio in the world, but it's bedroom music.
Okay, well, I think we've proved that not only is it possible to thrive as a musician in this current circumstance, it's almost a requirement.
It's required,
I think, is what we're saying. Yeah.
All right, let's put together an album. We've got some great ideas. Let's buy a pub. We've got some great ideas.
We've solved every album ordering issue that we've had for the albums we reviewed so far. We've just solved COVID for artists
fixed
worldwide.
COVID, I completed it, mate.
Any final thoughts? I think before we're kind of done.
Nah, I'm all good. Just going to say for anyone that's still with us, next week I think we're going to do another review. I think we're going to review the newest Gorillaz album. Presume that's next one, I think. So, yeah, we'll delve into that, and if we don't, have a mammoth runtime, also have another discussion. But yeah, I'm talked out, and I need to empty my bladder.
Cool.
All right. Peace.
Peace.